Now, given that both George, John, and Dave are all working together as a trio for the upcoming Star Wars projects, this of course includes new movies, new Star Wars TV shows, and lore in general, such as the books, the comics, and the video games, you name it. We have a lot of things also going on with Disney executives getting into a big shakeup with Bob Iger. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But focusing on what, of course, George Lucas recently approved, that some fans may like or dislike, is going to be rather interesting to see exactly how this is going to resonate with fans in the years to come. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of things happening right now between all the existing Star Wars projects, we're talking about Mando, Ahsoka, as well as the Mystery Ezra and Thrawn project that will be unveiled later this year. We have a lot of other things that Disney's about to announce that they're currently working on right now, one of which is being actively worked on behind closed doors. That's going to essentially recreate or refilm the original trilogy in a very unexpected way. And I think that this is something that some fans out there are going to cherish, while other fans are really going to dislike this. You know, I know a lot of fans never want to see anything with the originals, altered with, or fine-tuned with, or anything around those lines, right? But anyways, jumping into exactly what Lucasfilm has planned and what George Lucas recently gave the okay on and approved to move ahead with has a lot to do with Lucasfilm literally recreating and refilming specific moments from the original trilogy films. Let's discuss. Now, currently Lucasfilm is getting ready to work on several new Star Wars shows for the future of the roadmap. However, one of the big plans that they are gearing up to do with the original trilogy is a full-on refilming attempt with big moments from the original trilogy, such as A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, that was recently approved by no other than George Lucas. With a new project by Lucasfilm under the codename of Project Bluepoint, which is set to have Rogue One-style cinema, is set to focus on a series that will refilm the entire space battles of Yavin and Endor. Both John and Dave will be involved in the new show that is set to mainly focus on space battles and land battles. Lucas's vision is to modernize both space battles that will showcase a brand new take on the destruction of both Death Stars and the aftermath of their destruction. New characters will also be unveiled and involved. Mark Hamill has also been approached to get involved somehow in the recreation of the Battle of Yavin for X-Wing cockpit sequences, as well as his return briefly to face Vader in short moments during the Death Star 2 battle. Now let me stop right here for a second before we get to the more exciting stuff, and it does get a little bit better than that. Now, I can see why some fans would never want to see this at all, because let's face it, when you think about the Battle of Yavin and the Battle of Endor, you have the originals in mind. You have the original take on those scenes that are embedded in your memory, right? And so, moving ahead with recreating said scenes, it may make some fans a little bit upset, but I think that this may very well work. And I'm going to be honest, I think it will actually, if anything, really kind of show new fans what George Lucas is all about with the originals. So, the thing about this that I think is very artistically, I guess you could say, impressive is the fact that they want to create it much like Rogue One's space battles and mixing it in together with the recreation of both the Battle of Yavin and the Battle of Endor. And in addition, adding in new scenes on top of that. The thing that I think is very delicate with this whole attempt is that if you do one thing wrong, you're going to make a lot of fans angry. You're going to drive a lot of fans away. So, George, John, and Dave, you got to be very careful with this. You have to be very, very much like walking on eggshells with these scenes, because you have to. It's true. You know, you have to be very careful with every single little shot, every little decision. Any kind of CGI work being thrown in there has to be treated carefully. Moving on. Now, that brings us to the next piece that's even all the more, I believe, impressive, because this is going to involve a little bit more things related to Darth Vader. let's get into it. So, this series will also, of course, is already in the pre-planning stages to release sometime by 2025, during the holiday season, or 2026 the latest if they do run into delays. Lucas's vision is to take the Battle of Scarif style and apply it to both the Battle of Endor and Yavin. That will be refilmed frame by frame, as well as new additional scenes that will be implemented into the moments. The series is described to be an anthology show that will focus mostly on space warfare, where each episode is a new mission for certain X-Wing, Y-Wing, and other starfighter pilots. The series will also focus on the enemy, such as Darth Vader himself in his TIE Advanced, and a new view of what happened to him after the Battle of Yavin's Death Star explosion will be borrowed from comics and even some of the arcade games. Lucas got this idea from Star Wars Battle Pod's Vader's Revenge mission for what happens to him after Yavin. Now that to me is very interesting, the fact that Lucas actually paid attention to this arcade video game. I don't know if you guys ever saw it. Go ahead and look it up somewhere on YouTube or somewhere on the internet. Type up Battle Pod's Vader's Revenge. And in there, it gives you an actual view of Vader's perspective of being thrown out because he crashes into those TIE fighters, being thrown out away from the orbit of the Death Star 1 specifically, and you get to see the explosion of the Death Star and what Vader does afterward. Now, of course, the comics differed all of this, but this is where George got the idea from and how he wants to also throw Vader and an alternative story to him in this new upcoming series, which, by the way, they are aiming to make it canon. It's not going to be a non-canon show. So, Project Bluepoint, basically what it sounds like is a live-action adaptation of those Rogue Squadron video games that so many, young kids enjoyed back in the day on the N64 consoles and stuff like that. So basically that's their attempt. They want to make this flow almost like a video game, or like an anthology, where each mission is going to stand on its own. It's going to be its own kind of thing, its own kind of story, being 1 whole hour each. 2 of which are going to recreate the battles of Yavin and Endor. So this was all approved by George Lucas. This was pitched beforehand by John and Dave, and Lucasfilm creatives picked up on this. Disney executives believe that this could very well be a hit if they get Tony Gilroy on board. They're currently in the talks with Gilroy to come on board to help out with Bluepoint, to kind of provide that Andor and Rogue One style. So anyways, guys, I think it's going to be a very interesting thing. It's just a matter of not making mistakes. That's all that really matters, right? So anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments, what you think about Project Bluepoint and how it is going to recreate these big moments that are embedded in pop culture. So yeah, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of that. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.